This is disrespect to the country. This is disregard for the American taxpayer. This is Donald Trump thinking he is a king-like figure who can do what he wants with the White House because it is his. We face some very serious issues in the United States with Donald Trump as president and a Republican Party that just supplicates itself for him, that protects him, even in the face of wild, credible allegations of sexual abuse of children. It's a problem. And the White House demolition, the destruction of the White House is a serious issue because it's metaphoric for a lot of things, but it doesn't really rise to the level of damaging the lives of Americans. But it does point to exactly what the attitude is of Donald Trump, that he is beyond question. He is above any regulations or norms or regular orders of business. And we have a propaganda network of media outlets in the United States that will do anything to cover for, to justify the actions of Donald Trump. And that's where we're going to start today. And this is relative to the White House destruction, the demolition of the East Wing of the White House, so Donald Trump can build his palace, so he can fashion and form the White House to his particular gaudy, disgusting taste, to make it his own. And one of the issues, let me say this before I get to this clip, one of the issues with this is the fact that Donald Trump, it's very unlikely he's going to want to leave under his own accord, just like he tried to in 2020. He lost the election by 7+ million votes and did not want to leave, tried desperately not to leave. And the media, corporate media, is becoming more and more reverential of Donald Trump. But I'm talking about the propagandists that we've seen for years and years. The Newsmaxes, the OANs, the New York Post, the Rupert Murdoch-owned properties. And in this case, it's Fox News. They're blaming Democrats now, people who have an issue with what is taking place, with the lies that have been told by Donald Trump. I'll get to some reporting from NPR or from PBS and the New York Times here of quotes from Donald Trump and Caroline Leavitt where they said, oh, no, we're not going to touch. The existing structure will not be touched. And then, of course, as with anything else with Donald Trump, it turns out to be a vile, sickening, obvious lie. Before I get to that clip, let me say this. This is why I say do not give Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt. Stop acting as though, well, he might be telling the truth about this. When Donald Trump opens his mouth, you know a lie will follow. Whatever comes out of his putrid hole under his nose, it's going to be a lie. And Fox News, in this clip with Nepo baby Peter Doocy, the son of Steve Doocy's on Fox and Friends, they're poking at Democrats, that it's Democrats who have a problem. It's Democrats who are the problem relative to this White House demolition. Again, a lie that was told by Donald Trump. And you will note there is no mention of the fact that Donald Trump or his liar-in-chief, his chief liar, Caroline Leavitt, that both of them said the East Wing of the White House would not be touched. Watch this.
Over on the east side across the lawn, the walls are coming down, and we have some video of this yesterday. Parts of the East Wing have now been demolished to be modernized and to make room for a new privately funded ballroom. A sampling of the Democratic reaction reads like this. Hillary Clinton says, it's not his house, it's your house, and he's destroying it. Gavin Newsom says, ripping apart the White House just like he's ripping apart the Constitution. And Elizabeth Warren says, oh, you're trying to say the cost of living is skyrocketing. Donald Trump can't hear you over the sound of bulldozers demolishing a wing of the White House to build a brand new ballroom. And this isn't the first time that the White House has had work done. Go back to 1902. Teddy Roosevelt added the whole West Wing. 1909, Taft added the Oval Office. 33, FDR installed a swimming pool. 52, Truman gutted the entire inside of the White House and added a bowling alley. And then in 2009, outside, President Obama added a basketball court. President Trump, with this project, has courted wealthy outside donors. So this isn't taxpayer funded, which is why the construction continues during a shutdown.
We're putting up our own money with the government is paying for nothing. You probably hear the beautiful sound of construction to the back. You hear that sound? Oh, that's music to my ears. I love that sound.
Administration after administration have publicly and privately spoken about the need for a larger event space. So while many presidents have privately dreamt about this, it's President Trump who is actually doing something about it.
Now, one, it's funny because it's so obvious what they're doing here. They're running interference for Donald Trump and the lies that are not even mentioned there. But what they do mention is several moments in American history where the White House has been altered, where it has been added to. And in 1952, when President Truman did a complete renovation of the White House, it was because it was structurally unsound. In 1952, they were finding areas of the White House that were burnt out from the War of 1812 in 1814. It was not safe to be in. It was virtually a situation where it was uninhabitable. This is not the case with what Donald Trump is doing. Donald Trump is adding a structure that is virtually the size of the White House itself, gilded with gold, a massive ballroom that is unnecessary, that's going to cost. Now we're learning, he said it was going to be about $200 million. Now we're learning it's going to be $300 million. And again, I'll repeat something I just said about giving Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt. They're claiming it's going to be private monies that fund it, donations and the like. Mark my words, because I do not give Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt. It's going to end up costing taxpayers a lot of money in a time where they act like there's not enough money to feed poor people, to help the infirmed, to take care of people who are down on their luck, or whatever, however you want to phrase it. It's this same Republican Party that can't scrape together any money for desperate Americans that are going to be funneling money into the pockets of Donald Trump. The same Donald Trump who's now looting the Treasury to pay himself for investigations. Get a load of this headline from the New York Times. Trump administration, live updates. White House changes course and will demolish entire East Wing. The entire East Wing is going away. Mr. Trump was unsentimental as news of the demolition spread. Quote, "It was never thought of as being much," he said of the East Wing, which was home to the First Lady's office and spaces used for ceremonial purposes. Quote, "It was a very small building." The previously unannounced decision to demolish the East Wing was at odds with Mr. Trump's previous statements about the project and underscored his intention to blast through the sensibilities of many in Washington to continue putting a lasting imprint on the White House. The president also said on Wednesday that the ballroom would cost $300 million, $100 million more than initially estimated. This is wiggle language. This is giving Donald Trump a little bit of credit here in this language they're using that was initially estimated. It wasn't estimated. It was told to us. He said something. He made a claim that has ended up not to be true. In other parlance, it's a lie. Donald Trump is a liar. He was a liar in that moment. He is a liar in this moment, and the press needs to call it what it is. Quote, "In order to do it properly, we had to take down the existing structure," Mr. Trump said. He also said somewhat cryptically that, quote, "certain areas are being left." But the two senior administration officials who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss the plans confirmed that the entire East Wing was being demolished. When Mr. Trump first announced plans for the ballroom, he pledged that the East Wing would not be touched by the construction. Quote, "It won't interfere with the current building. It'll be near it, but not touching it," he said in July, and pays total respect to the existing building, which I'm the biggest fan of. All of this is contrary to everything else that's been said. That statement is contrary to, oh, it's a small building, no one's really a fan of it. The $300 million versus the $200 million price tag. All of it is a lie. You cannot trust Donald Trump. If his mouth is moving, He's either chewing or talking, and that's a lie. The scope of the demolition and Mr. Trump's repeated promises that the White House itself would not be affected by the work were in many ways symbolic of how he has conducted his presidency. On a variety of issues, Mr. Trump has blown past norms and traditions, often moving so quickly it can be too late for courts, Congress, or the public to catch up. Now, it's not just Donald Trump who's lied. As I've said, Caroline Leavitt repeated this. And there's another element to this that I think is notable, and that is who is in charge of the commission to build Donald Trump's new palace. Some of you might be surprised that it is the nursemaid, Will Scharf. First, though, this was the quote from Caroline Leavitt. This is from PBS, 9 things to know about the $250 million ballroom Trump is adding to the White House. The president and his chief spokesperson, Caroline Leavitt, said over the summer that the White House itself would remain intact as the ballroom was going up. Does this look intact? Does the East Wing of the White House look untouched, unmolested, more appropriately, dealing with what Donald Trump does to things? Quote, "It'll be near it, but not touching it," Trump said. "Nothing will be torn down," Leavitt added. That turned out not to be the case. He's moving ahead with the construction despite the lack of sign-off from the National Capital Planning Commission, the executive branch agency that has jurisdiction over construction and major renovations to government buildings in the region. Trump named top White House aide, I call him the nursemaid, the man who attends to Donald Trump's demented actions in the White House, reading documents for Donald Trump to sign or reading them after Donald Trump signs them because Donald Trump is clueless about what he's doing. He's actually not in charge of this administration and the things that are happening. That would be Russell Vought and Stephen Miller, the co-shadow presidents of this administration. Again, he named Will Scharf, the nursemaid, to head the commission. Scharf has made a distinction between demolition work and rebuilding, saying the commission was only required to vet the latter. So according to nursemaid Will Scharf, they could destroy the entire White House, the actual White House structure itself, not just the East or West Wing, and it would be fine because this commission, they would be in charge of or have input in the rebuilding process. That strains reason and rationality. This is disrespect to the country. This is disregard for the American taxpayer. This is Donald Trump thinking he is a king-like figure who can do what he wants with the White House because it is his. It is his property, just like the Treasury of the United States is his to pilfer, to become even more wealthy than he already is. We are ruled by an oligarch. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. You can have it in the comments below the video, wherever you're watching it, whether that be Facebook or YouTube. Please make sure you are connected through subscribing on YouTube or liking and following the Facebook page. All of that is free. I would appreciate it very much.
Somebody went up there, they say, "You're the third best president in the United States." This was on television, third best. And they said, who are the first two? George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. And I got extremely angry at this man. You know, you can't...
Listen, I've said many times that this is a weird job that I do. It's not normal. It is maybe not even healthy to obsess on the news and to be so hyper-focused on the things that are going on. But every once in a while, you get to watch Donald Trump just be as abjectly demented and out of his mind as he ever has been. And, you know, his misery brings me some modicum of solace. At least it brings me some laughter. And yesterday, he gave this speech where he is recounting a tale where some elected official, it sounds like, it's hard to follow, you know, it's Donald Trump after all, and he's explaining how he's the best president of the United States, the greatest person who's ever led the country. And someone suggested, it sounds like he's talking about an elected official, that Donald Trump is the third greatest president behind George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. And it brought him great anger as he recounts the tale. And the other thing I want to talk about is relative to the fact that he is not the greatest president. He is among the worst we've ever had. I think it's pretty self-evident he is the worst president the United States has ever elected and suffered under the yoke of, as it were. And he is destroying industries that he is, at the same time he's destroying them, claiming to save, claiming that the people, in this case ranchers, love him and thank him for saving him. And if not for Donald Trump, we wouldn't even have any beef in the country. There would be no cows. You would not be able to eat hamburgers without Donald Trump. But first, here he is talking about how angry he was that someone said he was the third best president behind our first, George Washington, and our 16th, Abraham Lincoln, who ended slavery in the Republic.
So we did the Presidential Walk of Fame from the great George Washington all the way to, well, I think we have to rate him above me. So less than great, less than George. Somebody went up there, they say, you're the third best president in the United States. This was on television, third best. And they said, who are the first two? George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. And I got extremely angry at this man. You know, you can't. It's going to be tough to beat, Mr. Senator. It's going to be, John. It's going to be very tough to beat Washington and Lincoln, but we're going to give it a try, right? Hey, they didn't put out 8 wars, 9 coming. All right, we put out 8 wars, and the 9th is coming. Believe it or not.
8 wars, 9 wars, 10 wars, 12 wars, just inventing conflicts that he solved or ended or had some role in. It's demented. It's delusional. Donald Trump is a deluded, elderly man in cognitive decline, an insecure weakling who feels so bad about himself. I don't know how many times I've said it, but I still hold to it. He was either, here's the situation with Donald. He was probably hugged too much by his mother and certainly not enough by his father. And it has stuck with him. It is so entrenched in his psyche that he's an 80-year-old doofus who can't let go of those weaknesses within his self-esteem. Now, the problem with it, if he was just an average everyday billionaire, it wouldn't really matter, except for the fact that we suffer, industries suffer, America suffers because of his bizarre understanding, the grandiose the way that he looks at himself as an economist, as a leader, as a policy director. He's clueless about how markets work. He doesn't understand the basics, and he deludes himself to believe that everyone around him agrees with the things that he does. I don't know if it's necessarily that he really believes that, or if he's just trying to convince the MAGA base that will swallow any lie, hook, line, and sinker. That is maybe, you know, we're generations away from figuring that out after all the dust settles. But this is a clip of Donald Trump explaining how the ranchers are so happy for him and that without him, we wouldn't have beef. Keep in mind, he is single-handedly crippling that industry in America. Watch this from the Oval Office of the White House.
So I'm very happy about that. We're going to do something very quickly and easily on beef to get it down. The ranchers understand that. They're so happy for what I've done. I saved them. I don't think you'd have any beef in this country if I didn't do that. So we're very proud of that.
Saved them from what, Donald? What did you save them from? What did they need to be saved from? It's interesting, he never explains that, but we all know what it is. It's his own policy. It's the tariffs that he leveled against Brazil, which a massive portion as a percentage basis of the beef that comes into the United States, it stopped flowing. And now he's going to be giving money in some kind of a savior complex, solving the problem that he created by taking away from taxpayer dollars to give to them. This is the headline from the AP to back this claim. U.S. ranchers oppose Trump's plan to import more Argentine beef and exports doubt it will lower prices. President Donald Trump's plan to cut record beef prices by importing more meat from Argentina is running into heated opposition from U.S. ranchers who are enjoying some rare profitable years and skepticism from experts who say the president's move probably wouldn't lead to cheaper prices at the grocery stores. The National Cattlemen's Beef Association, along with the Ranchers Cattlemen Action Legal Fund, United Stock Growers of America, wow, and other farming groups, who are normally some of the president's biggest supporters, all criticize Trump's ideas because of what it could do to American ranchers and feedlot operators. And agricultural economists say Argentine beef accounts for such a small slice of beef imports, only about 2%, that even doubling that wouldn't change prices much. South Dakota rancher Brett Kenzie said he wants American consumers to determine whether beef is too expensive, not the government. And so far, there is little sign that consumers are substituting chicken or other proteins for beef on their shopping lists, even though the average price of a pound of ground beef hit its highest point ever at $6.32 in the latest report before the government shutdown began. Remember how Donald Trump, or you don't have to really remember it, he says it every single day, prices are down. He solved the economy. We were a dead country under Joe Biden, yet prices continue to rise. Inflation is on the rise with Donald Trump. He's a liar who we should all stop giving the benefit of the doubt to. Beef imports are also down overall because of the 50% tariffs that Trump imposed on Brazil, a big beef exporter, and limits on Mexico, where the country is fighting a flesh-eating pest. Kansas State University agricultural economist Glenn Tonser said Argentina can't produce enough beef to offset those losses of imports. And here is where it comes in of Donald Trump being asked specifically this aboard Air Force One the other day. He's asked about bailing out Argentina, giving them special treatment. And before I play the clip, I want you to remember, as though there's any way not to remember, that Donald Trump is the America First president. America first, first us, then everybody else, while he bails out Argentina and their feckless moron of a president who's destroying single-handedly their own economy to the tune of $20 billion, $20,000 million. And when asked about this on Air Force One, Donald Trump got pissed off and started denigrating a reporter who dared ask a reasonable question.
Question is, what do you have to say to U.S. farmers who feel that the deal is benefiting Argentina more than it is them, as they are
Argentina's fighting for its life, young lady. You don't know anything about it. They're fighting for their life. Nothing's benefiting Argentina. They're fighting for their life. You understand what that means? They have no money. They have no anything. They're fighting so hard to survive. If I can help them survive in a free world, I happen to like the president of Argentina. I think he's trying to do the best he can. But don't make it sound like they're doing great. They are dying. All right? They're dying.
What do you mean by being?
Got it. Argentina's fighting for their life, little lady. They're fighting for their life. Do you even know what that means? Yeah, I think we all know what it means, Donald Trump, but what happened to America first? What happened to taking care of American ranchers and cattlemen? What happened to the economy? What happened to American consumers who are now paying record prices under your watch as a direct result of your policies? You are to blame while claiming that ranchers love me. I'm the savior. I'm the best president ever. Hopefully, doubtfully, but hopefully soon MAGA starts waking up. There's certainly a percentage that is starting to evaporate the support that they feel for Donald Trump because they see the things that were promised them versus what is being delivered. While Donald Trump builds his third of $1 billion palace replacing the East Wing of the White House, we suffer when we go to the grocery store. We suffer when we go to the gas pump. We suffer in our energy bills. We suffer when we pay our health insurance premiums. Donald Trump doesn't suffer. The administration doesn't suffer. The oligarchs in charge of us, they don't suffer. It's us. It's regular folks. Anyway, what do you think? I would appreciate your feedback here. You can sound off in the comments below the video wherever you're watching it.
And you talked a little bit about the previous Pentagon press corps. They walked out because they refused to sign an agreement. They self-deported. That was their right, but also their loss, because now we get to have incredible journalists like yourself.
So the transition to a propaganda press pool at the Pentagon, well, That's quite the alliteration. Propaganda press pool, the Pentagon's propaganda press pool. It is almost complete. And it's dangerous. It's not just your normal sycophants like Mike Lindell and Lindell TV, like that's a real thing. It's also people who are conspiracy theorists, who drive racism and white supremacy in this country. They are pushing out traditional corporate media, middle of the road, milquetoast media outlets who won't sign the pledge to only report that which Donald Trump approves. I do not want to live in a country like that. That is North Korea-esque. That is Russia-esque. That is China-esque. And that's what they want. Sean Parnell, who is the ass-kiss assistant to Pete Hegseth, who is the ass-kiss assistant to Donald Trump. So it's just, shit rolls downhill. He tweeted this. Today, the Department of War is announcing the next generation of the Pentagon press corps. We are excited to announce over 60 journalists representing a broad spectrum of new media outlets and independent journalists have signed the Pentagon's media access policy and will be joining the new Pentagon press corps. 26 journalists across 18 outlets were among the former Pentagon press corps who chose to sign the Department of War media access policy. The new media outlets and independent journalists have created the formula to circumvent the lies of the mainstream media and get real news directly to the American people. Their reach and impact By the way, if it has to be approved by the government, that by definition is propaganda. These are propagandists. They have agreed to disseminate administration, state-approved talking points. That's what this is. I will continue, maybe uninterrupted. Their reach and impact collectively are far more effective and balanced than the self-righteous media who chose to self-deport. That's going to come up again. Self-deport from the Pentagon. Americans have largely abandoned digesting their news through the lens of activists who masquerade as journalists in the mainstream media. We look forward to beginning a fresh relationship with members of the new Pentagon press corps, the new Pentagon propagandists. If any media outlet that you consume their content and their reporting, if they signed this agreement, they are not to be trusted. Anyone who signed this agreement has agreed to be a disseminator of lies and propaganda from Donald Trump. Full stop. There is no argument to be made. That is what it is. And the type of person that we're talking about here is people like Jack Posobiec, the Pizzagate dipshit, the guy who promoted the lie and conspiracy theory about a child abuse network in the basement of a pizza place in Washington, D.C., a pizza place I've been to that does not have a basement. A lie so pernicious that it caused some MAGA psycho to bring a weapon, an assault weapon, fired into the streets of Washington, D.C. to try to save the children. These people are dangerous. And this is Jack Posobiec talking to, I have to get her name right, it's one of those Kingsley Wilson, another Donald Trump propaganda approver. She is a press secretary for the Pentagon. They are discussing his role now. This person who is has close ties to Russia and other despot-type governments. And he is going to play a role in this new propaganda press pool of the Pentagon.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be involved in the Pentagon press corps. Of course, as a prior Navy officer myself, I never expected to be involved in the department in such a way, but here we are.
It's fantastic news, and we're so proud to have Human Events and over 60 other journalists that are going to be joining us here in the Pentagon. And you talked a little bit about the previous Pentagon press corps. They walked out because they refused to sign an agreement that was simple. It was common sense. It said, wear a visible press badge, don't go in classified spaces, stay in the correspondence corridor, and follow the building's rules. They refused to do that. They self self-deported. That was their right, but also their loss, because now we get to have incredible journalists like yourself who are going to be here in the Pentagon reporting on what the Department of War is doing every single day. It's really the next generation of journalism at the Pentagon, and we're so excited for this new era and this new generation. I think we saw President Trump use this on the campaign trail so well, right? He didn't have to rely on the mainstream media's corrupt filter to get his message out. He went to independent journalists, he went on podcasts and alternative news networks where he was able to speak directly to the American people. That's exactly what we hope to do here at the Department of War, and we're really excited to welcome this new group of 60-plus journalists. It's awesome.
And there it is. Self-deport. We are dangerously close to an administration that is going to try to dissolve citizenship from Americans. And I'm not just talking about naturalized citizenship, although there is no distinction. Native-born Americans are under threat from this administration as they kidnap migrants off our streets, as they take hostage American citizens and detain them with no due process for days or weeks at a time. As Donald Trump demolishes the White House to build his own palace in a tribute to himself. This is what the Washington Post had to say about all of this. Pentagon announces a new right-wing press corps after a mass walkout. A new crop of conservative media and influencers, including the Gateway Pundit, the Post-Millennial, Human Events, and the National Pulse, signed an agreement with the Defense Department. They agreed to disseminate Pentagon propaganda, the lies of Donald Trump, to uncritically report what Donald Trump wants to create as the new reality. Nearly 1 week since a rash of Pentagon journalists turned in their press credentials after refusing to sign a new restrictive press policy, the Defense Department announced a, quote, new media press corps largely hailing from right-wing outlets. The 60 people from various news organizations represent a broad spectrum of new media outlets and independent journalists. Pentagon spokesperson Sean Parnell wrote in a statement Wednesday on Twitter, adding that all of the publications agreed to the agency's press policy. According to a draft of the announcement obtained by the Washington Post ahead of Parnell's tweet, the coalition of signatories includes the cable network Real America's Voice, streaming service Lindell TV, started by MyPillow CEO and Trump ally Mike Lindell, the websites The Gateway Pundit, the Post-Millennial, Human Events, the National Post, and Red State. It also includes Turning Point USA's media brand Frontlines, as well as influencer Tim Pool's Timcast and Substack-based newsletter called Washington Reporter. The memo said that many independent journalists also signed but did not specify who they were. Tim Pool, the man who received hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars directly from the Kremlin. Kremlin, the Pentagon. At this point, it really doesn't make much difference, does it? These are the type of people who will be reporting. They think they're journalists. They call themselves journalists. Tim Pool is not a journalist. He is a paid Russian propagandist. That's who he is. And the rest of these idiots, Mike Lindell is going to be reporting from the Pentagon, wandering the halls of the Pentagon with a press pool badge. This is what Donald Trump wants. It's what he demands. It's beyond a desire. If you report truth, even middle-of-the-road outlets, it's too much for Donald Trump. The article finishes here. The Defense Department's policy blocks journalists from soliciting information the department has not authorized for release, even unclassified details, a major shift in press outreach from the organization. Parnell said that 26 people from the 18 outlets signed the original document, including OAN, The Federalist, and the Epoch Times. Most of these outlets that I've named are just unreliable conspiracy theory outlets. The Epoch Times, the Post-Millennial, Lindell TV, these are whack job outlets. They are not trusted. They finally got their seat at the table, and it is their willingness to disseminate propaganda. Very tough. Now, this isn't going to stop reporting from journalists. It's just they're not going to report from within the halls of the Pentagon. So at least there's that. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. You can sound off in the comments below. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com.
Today is day 28 since my election. And I think that it's really important that we appreciate that 812,000 Arizonans do not have representation in Congress.
We are in maybe the most dangerous spot in the history of our republic that we ever have. Maybe even including the Civil War. Mike Johnson right now, in an effort to protect Donald Trump from the clear, credible allegations that he has raped children alongside his best friend of 15 years, Jeffrey Epstein, and the woman he is now considering a pardon, the associate, the co-conspirator of their little sick plot against the most innocent among us. And Speaker Johnson, Mike Johnson, the righteous, mighty man of God, the follower of Jesus the Christ, the pious man, self-described piety here. He is not swearing in a woman who just won a special election in Arizona, who will be Representative Grijalva. She is not yet that because she has not been sworn in. And Mike Johnson, this liar, this disgusting individual, is claiming, or he's charging her, he's telling her that she's lazy. That all she needs to do is just get to work. She owes it to her constituency. He won't swear her in and has the gall, the temerity, the stones, if you will, to tell her she needs to get to work. It is a remarkable turn of events, all in service to protecting Donald Trump from what will be a scorched earth level of information that we end up receiving when she will be the final vote to force the Department of Justice to release the Epstein files. Something that Donald Trump desperately does not want, something Mike Johnson desperately does not want, because although they claim to be the party of protecting children and protecting women and family values and all of these lies, they're here to protect Donald Trump against the allegations, against the evidence of his crimes. Watch Mike Johnson tell the soon-to-be Representative Grijalva that she needs to get to work, even though he refuses to swear her in.
There's nothing to see here. And I told Rep. Grijalva, in the press conference, I explained, and I told Hakeem, she needs to get to work. She needs to stop doing TikTok videos and serve her constituents. The only thing that she hasn't done is taken the oath and will administer it as soon as possible. But in the meantime, she should be taking her constituent calls. She should have her 16 employees that she's already hired in here working, like all my staff's working, to handle the crisis that has been created by the Democrats. Her constituents have serious challenges and problems right now. She can be directing them to the right offices. And if it's something outside of her scope, she can send it to her two senators, because they apparently have a lot of idle time right now because they're doing TikTok videos themselves out in front of my office for publicity stunts. So the whole thing is ridiculous.
How do you, I don't know, how would you go about your job, go about your day acting that incredulous, lying with that straight-faced, with an earnest tone that you need to get to work, that your constituents, they have serious challenges right now. Stop doing TikTok videos. Go out and help your constituency. Go do work for your district. He refuses to swear her in. She talked about this just the other day, and really it does shine a light on not just the hypocrisy, but the dysfunction of exactly what is at stake here and what the Republican Party stands for. They are not here to govern. They are not here to be partners in governance. They are not here to better the lives of Americans. They're certainly not here to be good stewards of the taxpayer dollars. They're not here to provide through policy a better healthcare infrastructure in the country. They are here to cover for Donald Trump. They are here to ensure that Donald Trump stays out of as much trouble as he can from his past, not just indiscretions, but crimes against children, allegedly. Watch soon-to-be Representative Grijalva talking about this very issue.
Jeffries and Ranking Member Raskin for the opportunity to speak here, and for, I think this is the 5th time that a member of Congress has tried to get some recognition in order to have me sworn in. Today is day 28 since my election. And I think that it's really important that we appreciate that 812,000 Arizonans do not have representation in Congress. My dad passed away a little over 7 months ago in March. And since that time, the offices were able to provide constituent services. It was the People's Office of Arizona CD7. On September 23rd, those services ended. And so I do not have access to provide services in district. And I think that I also don't have a budget. So this back and forth, coming back and forth, is on my miles that I had stored up because I don't have a budget. I'm not able to open a lease in district. And I think that, you know, the efforts that have been provided to me, and I'm appreciative of the administration's effort, the departments in the administration, they're trying to provide piecemeal solutions to some of the problems that we have. But respectfully, there's so much that cannot be done until I am sworn in. And so every moment that passes that I'm not able to provide constituent services or be a voice for Arizona, I can't bring the issues forward that they sent me here to do. And so while you know, we're getting a lot of attention for not being sworn in, I'd rather get the attention for doing my job. And I can't do that right now without being sworn in. And it's just notable to continue to mention, there were 2 Republican members that were sworn in less than 24 hours from the date of their special election, April 1st. They were sworn in less than 24 hours, April 2nd, on a pro forma session. It's not unheard of for this speaker to do that. And so I continue to ask for us to have the same opportunity, and for the 812,000 people in Arizona that do not have a voice right now to have the opportunity to have me here representing them.
So what does Mike Johnson expect her to do? How does he expect her to get to work if he won't do his duty, his constitutionally mandated duty as Speaker of the House, to swear her in, to make her officially a member of the United States House of Representatives? It's obviously rhetorical. He doesn't want that. This is a way to subvert a free and fair election. This is a way to interfere in an election. For all of the Republican Party's talk about voter ID and secure elections and mail-in voting, and we need to have them fair and secure, and we need to have reliability in our elections, when someone does get elected from a district and then he refuses to swear them in, it is subverting democracy itself. It is interfering in an already taken place, settled election. And again, it's to cover for Donald Trump. It's to cover for pedophiles. Is to work in service to the most vile criminals like Donald Trump. Anyway, what do you think? I'd love to hear from you if you are from Arizona, especially if you are in her district. This is among some of the most dangerous shit that we've seen in many, many generations, and they have their man in Mike Johnson. He is rudderless. He is absolutely principle-free while claiming to be some pious Christian man. He's about as pious as Donald Trump, and I think we all know what that means. You can sound off below. I'd love to see your comments in the comments section. Share this video. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. We're trying to get to 1.5 million by the end of the year. And we're growing the Facebook page, Dollemore Daily, on a daily basis. You can go over there too. If you want to sound off telephonically, as it were, you can call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you very much. I will see you next time. Until then, be genuine and take care of one another.